So, anyone remember the early 2000s? Well, the gaming economy was crazy with the PS2. This thing was crazy. You know, it could play movies and music, and it came with gaming. It was like the ultimate family console, and everybody and their mom were waiting at the Best Buy line in 2000 to get that fresh console. Honestly, I don't blame them. I would have done anything for a PS2 also.
Give me that PS2.
No!
I said give it!
Probably happened, but we're focused on the wrong console. Pretty much, after all that drama, I guess a few years later, people started speculating. The PS3. I'm excited for that.
I wonder if they'll make it look like the cutscenes in Final Fantasy X.
But what if it looks like real life?
Man, y'all tripping. It can't look like real life. Wow, it looks like real life. Yep, I'm guessing that's how it was. I was kinda late to the party, so I wouldn't really know. So I asked my sister about it. She never texted me back. This video is starting off all over the place. This is pretty much a retrospective on the PS3. Before we really get into it, I just want to say, this console is really cool in my opinion. It has a really strong nostalgia to it, and I'm pretty sure this console built up a lot of iconic PlayStation heroes. So, let's kind of go back to the 2004 to 2005 era and waste like no time. To make this video, I paused my Metal Gear Solid 5. Yeah, that was the worst thing I've ever said in a video. Focusing on topic, let's discuss specific topics of the PS3. I want to start with the changes from the PS2. So, everyone knows the PS2. It's the best-selling console of all time, still to this day. Most of your favorite video games originate from the PS2. A shit ton of Square Enix games, Persona was modernized, DMC was created, GTA took off, and for all my undergrounders, Gungrave released. All of these gameplays aren't mine, sadly. Credits to the original videos in the description also. When the PS3 dropped, it came with some things the PS2 didn't have. Internal storage, PlayStation Network, which included the PlayStation Store, PlayStation Home, Live with PlayStation, on-demand TV, a video editor, photo gallery. It could play Blu-ray and a Play Memories studio. For those confused on what Play Memories is, it was a stereoscopic 3D and also standard photo viewing application which lets users tap into 3D images. I didn't even know this shit existed until I was making this video also, I'm not gonna lie. The biggest change, which pretty much included all of these, was the cross-media bar. The PS3 was the first PlayStation with a home screen. You can navigate through it, change wallpapers, and this is where all of the other functions played into key. The PS2 was kinda just a startup screen with nothing special but time-changing functions and viewing memory card.
The PS3's UI won an Emmy in 2006. This is the earliest version of what would become the PS3 XMB. The cross-media bar is for many the best console interface ever. And it's not even unique to the PS3. It was originally used on the PSX, PSP, and then expanded into Sony TVs, Blu-ray players, laptops, whatever. So why did the XMB win an Emmy? The tick sounds are satisfying, they're glassy, futuristic, and the audio matches the visuals extremely well. The background is pretty with almost no visual clutter except the ribbon and some icons. The design is minimalist and ahead of its time with a heavy glass UI feel. For the player, it's easy to learn. The XMB is just a basic coordinate system and it's much simpler than say Blades. Also, the themes were customizable. You could change the icons, the background, even the fonts, things that were missing in today's consoles. Finally, the XMB is persistent, meaning that even in-game, the system can be accessed to message friends, to play music, download stuff, whatever you like. And of course, the most memorable. But yeah, for me personally, the PS3 UI is the best of any console. What do you guys think? Is the PS3's UI better than the Xbox 360's? Let me know down below. I sound like a YouTuber. Like and follow for more nostalgic content.
Sucked, am I right? Yeah, I thought so. You could DM people, friend people, connect a mouse and a keyboard for the search browser, or send people video messages with the PlayStation Eye. Yeah, the PS3 had a crap ton of accessories. At the moment, I don't know how many, but I wouldn't be shocked if it were a lot. So let's discuss those briefly. You could also buy things. The PSN store came with a buttload of content that you could also get physically. Well, not DLC, this was new for the time. If you want an extra story pack, different costume, or just a cool song, you could buy it digitally, instead of having to buy a completely new game, which was really the same game but with like a new chapter to it, it would be permanent to your account. But with online, there came rules. You know what happened to the people that broke them.
Why is my son banned from PlayStation? I spent $300 on the console!
Ma'am, your son called another player a bitch, autistic nigger, whore, slut, nigger, bitch, and his username is SirComeslot779. But I think the strangest change to all PlayStation 2 users was one thing. To all my PS2 users watching this video, mainly the ones that were there for that era, I hope you know what it is. When the PS3 dropped, there was one major change that PlayStation thought was necessary for modern gaming. It came to change the input of the triangle button to circle. On the PS2, it's been changed on HD remasters, so PS4 or PS5 players wouldn't really know. I didn't know while making this video until I stumbled across a TikTok video, honestly. On the PS2, the back button / menu button was triangle, whereas the PS3, the back button became circle. I'm sure it was to modernize against competitors such as the Xbox and other consoles. Some games still choose to use triangle as their pause button on the PS3 and later consoles. If this video goes far, like I hope it does at the moment, can any PS2 era player comment how they felt about the PS3, especially with that change, their likes, dislikes, or maybe the PS4, 2, and 5? I plan to make videos of those two in the future. Also, if you're enjoying this video, give me a like, it'll help me a lot. I also want to do other consoles than the PlayStation in the future with a friend of mine, so if you want to see those, subscribe and give me recommendations of consoles you want to see. Also, with the PS2 compared to the PS3, it brought better resolution like 720p to 1080p. I honestly wanted to hold off the topic, but let's talk about hardware because the PS3 deserves some criticism, okay? The PS3 brought a strong aesthetic with it. Most of the games had a gray filter over them. Sometimes it was a little too hard to see. Maybe it was just my TV, but I remember watching Arcane on Netflix a few weeks ago and it seemed darker than usual and a little faded. I don't know why. Especially compared to my PS5. Okay, so listen, I know it's weird using a PS3 for TV in 2026, but it was only because I can't use my PS3 for the capture card and I don't really feel like moving my PS5 all the time. But focusing on topic. This filter would shine in games like Metal Gear 4, but also be the downfall in the same game. At some point, it was really hard to see while playing Metal Gear 4, so I had to increase the brightness to the brightest. GTA 4 is also really dark. I know Liberty City is really dark, but gosh man, I was still able to see it in the 3D universe. The hardware was so hard to work with. Some games just canceled their PC port and left some games as like console exclusives and never made a PC version. It's known for being a nightmare to develop games for, which is why it's really hard to get PS3 remasters nowadays, and most games port the PSP version or just use PS Now, which is really sad because I'd love to see Tekken 6 on the PS3 version. This was really hard to understand when researching, so thank you to the people on Reddit, you know. In simple terms, for those who aren't big on computers, with the 360, it came with one module of RAM, 560 megabytes, where the PS3 came with two modules, each split to 256 megabytes. It equals almost the same amount, to 512. But here's where it becomes a nightmare. One module was limited to the RAM of graphics, while the other was limited to the processing system. What made them an issue is that they were limited, like one was focused on something, the other was focused on something else. If the graphics overflowed, they could never go to the other processing system. They'd have to compress and remove things from the game. Because the game could only hold 256 megabytes of graphic RAM. They couldn't pass it over to the system processing RAM either. Where on the 360, you could manage how you wanted to use graphics and processing manually, versus the PS3, where they'd have to cut some things down from either graphics or the system processing itself to make it optimized for the console, which led to games looking and running worse. Look at GTA 4 and 5, Skyrim, and these many other games on screen. For nerds, pretty much the cell processor architecture was radically different than a system built around a more traditional CPU. It required the programmers learn to use new tools and, more importantly, new coding techniques in order to optimize their code for the cell. There was a very steep learning curve, so it took quite some time for games that took full advantage of the architecture to be released. I want to give you a big thank you for the explanation. Thank you for the explanation, Dancing with Cats on Reddit. Some games have really good graphics while others look a little weird. Look at Metal Gear 4 and then look at Revengeance. Maybe the filtering blends in with the game so well, which is why 4 looks so good, especially for the time. Yes, it was cool that the PS3 brought in realistic graphics, but there was always something wrong or felt wrong. Yeah, there was always something wrong, honestly. It's like the PS3 slid in and shot up all the creativity and cool vibes that the PS2 had. PS3 came with more mature games and killed a lot of the anime/cartoony games the PS2 had. If you ask me, I believe there are less anime-ish or cartoony-ish, just creative games on the PS2. Final Fantasy was one of the anime-style games that actually looked good in a modern realistic style. And with the hardware, I might also have a little strange opinion, but it comes down to the remasters and backwards compatibility. The PS3 had a lot of remasters which I think are too soon. The PS3 had a lot of PS2 remasters, Final Fantasy X, God of War, Sly Cooper, and a ton more, which I asked, why couldn't have these been saved for the next generation, I googled it and nobody asked this question. Some games need remasters, which I can understand, but others didn't. The remaster always came out worse too. Silent Hill 2 and 3 can barely even work on the PS3. A lot of PS2 games are still in the PS3 store. Every Persona game is in the shop right now. And if you couldn't find them in the store, buy them physically, right? I think only rare games needed a remaster. They probably weren't rare at the time, but stuff like Silent Hill and Drakengard. Yeah, just games that were kind of rare, If the consoles nowadays still have backwards compatibility, would we really need remasters, Honestly, I could see a remaster for some changes. Graphical, controls, yeah, that's understandable, but for the time, do we really need remasters? That's my question, Why not hold these off until the PS4? Yeah, some games needed widescreen. They could have been okay with that for a few more years, yeah? Imagine being a kid in 2005 or something, waiting for the PS3.
Yo, Trent, you gonna get the PS3?
Heck yeah.
I hope we can still play MVC2 on there.
Boy, you know your ass finna be trashing that car dirty.
Man, no I'm not.
If not, don't get it.
We probably can't. But the games look so crazy, so we gotta get it. This new Sonic game look trash, but I'm enjoying it.
Yo, Trent, you gotta get this game called Assassin's Creed. It's like a stealth game.
Yo, this game lucky tough. Man, after this, let's play some MVC2 on that backwards compatibility function. Honestly, this was probably the last generation where games were creative and original. The PS3 was definitely less creative than the PS2, but it still brought some heavy hitters today. What's sad is that a lot of PS3 titles are kind of dead by today. It had a large library, especially with backwards compatibility. You could enjoy a crap ton of games from different genres. Horror games, shooter games, action games, Bioshock, Catherine, Far Cry 3, Borderlands, Arkham Asylum, Sleeping Dogs, and a bunch of more games. The PS3 is also known for having games which are exclusive only for the PS3, which is, well, because it's still hard to make remasters for those games, being because coding is deeper. Well, this library included amazing hack and slash titles, like Metal Gear Rising. I finished this in one sitting yesterday at the time I'm recording this. It's probably my favorite Platinum Games video game. Yes, I like it more than Bayonetta 1, 2, and maybe 3. Metal Gear 4 is also a great finale to the first 3. We don't get a lot of clones nowadays, but when PlayStation made their Smash clone, it was badly cool. It sucked, but it was still cool. I'd love to see another one, because Nick and Warner Bros. Kind of revived the Smash clones genre a few years ago, and then died. It's also sad because this is one of the last few consoles where games had a lot of effort put into them and weren't milked. The Last of Us is a PS3 original game, and it's had a remake and 2 remasters. A PS5 game has a PS5 remaster. Like what? This console also has a lot of hidden gems, like Remember Me, Tekken Tag 2, this is probably my favorite Tekken personally. I Desire a remaster, Max Payne 3, the 4 series, GTA 4, Final Fantasy 13, Sonic Unleashed, 06, and Heavenly Sword, Silent Hill 5, or Homecoming. What? Does anyone actually care about this game? Honestly, it's not a hidden gem. I was just saying that to bring it up. I was Googling about it, and I couldn't find any gameplay screenshots, so I got curious about the game. I ain't even played this game. None of these games are on modern platform, where they should be, I'm not gonna lie. I'd love to play some Revengeance on my PS5. The PS3 also had games that needed specific toys, almost Until Dawn, yeah. But remember the accessories? Yeah, holy shit, there are so many. There was the PlayStation Move, the DualShock charging station, the keyboard, the controller pad, the PS3 TV. If you had a Sony TV, you could like use PSTV on it or something. My grandma has one, so I was just throwing that up there. The PlayStation Eye, the Buzz Buzzer, Logitech Driving Force GT, Logitech Cordless Precision Controller, Tony Hawk Shredboard. Like why? UDraw Game Tablet, the wireless earbud, PS Move Gun, 3D TV and glasses, the Play TV. What was the point in this? The Torn. This is the Play TV, but you kind of get trophies. And the memory card adapter. A lot of these are a bunch of BS. The best thing to accessories are the fact that you can link Bluetooth controllers. So yes, I use my PS5 controller on here like all the time. I think you can also link the PSP and PS Vita to the PlayStation 3 because I know they have settings for it. I don't own a PSP or a PS Vita, so I'm not going to speak too much about that. Honestly, I don't know what else to talk about, so let's start ending this video. Let's do that by comparing it to the 360. Honestly, as a PlayStation kid and having some years on the Xbox, the 360 is better, in my opinion, hardware-wise, and honestly has a stronger aesthetic. Pause. So I'm changing this as the day I'm uploading this. I believe it's best to pick whichever one you like more. They're both really balanced and equal. The Xbox does better at certain things like shooter games. The PS3 does better at like story games. They're both good in different ways. So I believe they're both great consoles. I personally would have picked the PS3, but if you really want me to say which one I think is better, I go for, I guess, the Xbox because it has a better nostalgia and aesthetic because, yeah. Thank you guys for watching. I'll probably make a PS4, Wii, or Wii U video next, as I don't have money for a PS2 yet. But to everyone who played the PS3, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a like or a subscribe. I try to make more retrospects in the future. Goodbye.